Hello everybody, my name is Swaggy and this is Deck Inspection. Here in Deck Inspection, I'm going to give you an overview of the deck, then I'm going to give you a showcase match, and finally we'll do some reflections on where I think the deck stands in the current metagame. Today, we're going to be inspecting Bastion.
光まといて権限せよ万民の剣バスティオンアコードにライド
Bastion as a deck came in the genesis of standard format with his start deck associated with Ebata Toya from the anime. This deck revolves around supporting grade 3s or having lower grade units that also dual purpose as grade 3s to gain effects. Since his start deck debut, Bastion has received two upgrades in the form of Bastion Prime and Bastion Accord, both of which remain playable in the same deck as some of Bastion's skills even require other Bastions. The deck has been quite middling for a while, but with DZBT10 and the arrival of Perfect Surgery Azrael and Sorcerer of the Heavenly Staff Balancier, there is a new promise of a breath of fresh air into Bastion. So, let's inspect. I've taken this list from infamous Vanguard Twitter user Taydream, who also values this deck as a B-tier strategy. So, let's see what it can do. To start, we're on Bastion's right line, which has been the same since the starter deck. When ridden over, Fort lets you show two grade 3s in your hand to call the top card of your deck regardless of the grade. Then, Rooks lets you show 3 grade 3s to draw a card. You may notice in a meta where arms are being searched and equipped with surgical precision and blazing speed, that this right line leaves a little to be desired. Then, we have Bastion Accord, who gives all your front row rearguard to our grade 3s 5000 power and the effect that they cannot be chosen, making them immune to stuff like Virgila's Bind or Artisaria's Lock. Then, after he attacks, you can stand one grade 3 rearguard, and if your opponent is grade 3, you can counterblast one and discard a Bastion to give their restood unit drive checks. Because you're restanding grade 3 units, you're gonna have twin drive on those, so you're gonna have 4 drive checks in your turn. And of course, we are on 3 personas in the main deck. As for the rest of the main deck, we are on 4 Bastion Prime. In addition to Bastion Accord, we are also on 4 Bastion Prime, the grade 4 unit. He gives your front row units 2000 power and restands your entire board by discarding a Bastion from your hand or soul blasting one, and gives everything 10,000 power. Though keep in mind, you do have to drive check a Bastion in order to use this skill. You can use Bastion Prime as a finisher riding up from Bastion Accord, but he can also be another name for Bastion Accord to discard. Fun fact, I built this deck in real life for a few days, but in too many of those games, Bastion Prime would check me 3 triggers, meaning my board wouldn't restand because I didn't check a grade 3. I once lost a game because I checked crit, and over trigger, and my board was all in rest, so I lost the next turn. But you know, maybe your luck is better than good old Swaggy's. We're on 3 Grander Edge Dragon. He's pretty simple. When he's revealed, he counts for 2 grade 3s, look at your right line, and if your Vanguard is Bastion, he has 10,000 power and 10,000 shield. We're also on 3 Chivalzard. Chivalzard is the new dragon from the Festival booster. He always has 5,000 power and intercept, so he's just a slightly chunkier grade 2. And when he's placed, you can Energy Blast 3 and gain 5,000 power and boost. If you have Persona ridden, or you have 4 or more damage, he can also call a unit off the top 3 cards of your deck and give it 5,000 power. He's good on those Persona turns or when you're getting your shit rocked early. We're on 4 of our new Perfect Surgery Azrael, who can Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1 on place to call a unit from our hand. Then, if it's a grade 3, we draw 2 cards. It took 22 sets, but we have finally fired Alden from Bastion. This card is great. It's good on resources and also gains 5,000 power and 5,000 shield and intercept once you are Bastion. The other new toy we are using is Balancier, who on rear, hand, and trigger check is a grade 3. If Bastion's the Vanguard, he can boost as well. And when he's placed, if Bastion's in the right deck or is your Vanguard, you can counterblast to check the top 5 cards of your deck and add a grade 3 or greater card to your hand, and if you didn't, you can CC 1. This card is also really good and gives Bastion a guy he can throw down early. We're also on 4 Sapient Owls, this little bugger here, and he's also grade 3 in the zones where it matters, has a 2000 power extra bonus if your Vanguard is Bastion, and when you place him, you can move a grade 3 or greater unit from your drop to the soul and give any unit on your board 5000 power. If you move a Bastion to the soul, you can countercharge 1 once per turn. Then, we're also on 4 of the Order Form Up or Chosen Knights, which gains more effects the more grade 3s you have on the board. At 2, 1 unit gains 5000 power, at 3, you draw a card, and at 4, you can gain +1 drive. Since the deck is loaded with grade 3s, you're gonna hit this pretty easily. And finally, we're on 4 Perfect Guards, and we're also on 1 Union the Sky, so that we can guard and attack every once in a while. As for the triggers, we are on 8 critical, 3 fronts, 4 heals, and the blue over trigger. Okay, let's see what the Sword of the Nation can do. In this game, we are going to be up against Toys. Toys is one of the best decks in the DZB TO9 format, so let's see how we fare. We're going to go first. We're going to discard a heal trigger and ride into Fort. We're going to pass it over to them. They're going to draw for turn. They're going to discard a crit and they're going to ride Nutcracker. Nutcracker's skill. They're going to search for the Toy Order and add it to their hand. They're going to play the Toy Order of the Toy Order skill. They're going to put Bravely Lost to their hand. Then they're going to call the Bunny of the Bunny skill. They're going to put a Bravely Lost to the Soul. Swing for 8 of their Vanguard, check the Toy Order, and we're going to check nothing. We're going to guard the second attack and pass the turn. We're going to ride into Rooks by discarding a critical trigger here, and then using Fort's skill, we're going to show 2 great 3s, and off the top, we are going to hit a perfect guard. Not ideal, but we take what we can get. We will call it to back row center. We're going to call Balancier here, Balancier skill. We're going to check the top 5 cards of our deck, and we're going to be spoiled for choice here, but we're going to take the Azrael off these 5 anyways. We're going to go to battle. We're going to swing for 16 with our center line, check nothing, and they're going to check Giant Fluff. We're going to swing with Balancier for 10, and they are going to guard it with Bravely Lost here, and we're going to pass the turn. On their right, they're going to ride into Coaster Shark here. With Coaster Shark skill, they're going to add the next Toys Are Made for Children order here, and they're going to play it. Using the effect of Toys Are Made for Children, they're going to check the top 5 cards of their deck, and they're going to put a rabbit to their hand and a horse to their soul. Then they're going to call the bunny, and then they're going to use its skill, and they're going to put Philia to the soul. Then they're going to rest both the orders, and they're going to put 1 Bravely Lost from the drop to their soul, and then move to battle swing for 18. We're not going to guard. They're going to check a heal. They're going to heal out. We're going to get a crit. We're going to put it on our Vanguard. They're going to hit our side, and then they're going to pass turn to us. Now we're going to ride into Bastion Accord, and then with Rook skill, we're going to show 3 great 3s from our hand, and we're going to draw 1 card. Pretty good draw there. Here we're going to call Azrael. Azrael's skill, we're going to call Sapien Owl, and then we're going to draw 2 cards. Here I mess up what Sapien Owl can do. Sapien Owl can only move grade 3 or greater cards to the soul. As you can see, I do kind of notice that and try to fix it. I do not fix it perfectly, but just know that the soul here is a bit weird, but it doesn't actually matter in the long run for this game. We're going to give 5,000 power to Bastion, and then we're going to call the new Chivalzard. Chivalzard's skill, we're going to Energy Blast 3, and we're going to give it 5,000 power, and we're going to move to battle phase. Chivalzard gets blocked by a crit. Bastion Accord swings. They're going to let it through. We're going to check a crit, giving the crit to the Vanguard and the power to Chivalzard. Then we're going to check a prime as well, taking 2 with no triggers as we stand Chivalzard. Then we're going to swing with Azrael for 5,000 more thanks to her own skill, which they are going to take and check a twin cast. Then we're going to swing with Chival for 33 again, and then they're going to guard this time. We're going to go into ride phase, and they're going to ride into Harluru. And as they do that, I'm going to do a quick trigger count in their drop. So they're going to play the Toys Are Made for Children order, and they're going to check the top 5, but they're going to add a toy to their hand, and they're going to put Giant Fluff to their soul. I'm not particularly sure what the toy is that they put to their hand, but I think it's Bravely Lost. Then with the skill of Heartlure, they're going to call 3 toys from their soul. With the skill of Bravely Lost, they're going to draw 1 card and gain 5,000 power to Bravely Lost. By now, you must be familiar with this formation, or you're about to be very familiar when it comes out in EN. They're going to adjust their powers here, then they're going to use the toy orders and put the Giant Fluff back to their soul. They're going to swing with Bravely Lost for 28,000, we are not going to guard that, and then they're going to swing with their Vanguard here, and this time we are going to guard it with a perfect guard, as they use Karluru's skill to counterblast 1 and stand the Bravely Lost column. We're going to discard our Bastion Prime here, because, I mean, we don't need 2. They're going to check 3 blanks here, but Bravely Lost has the critical, and we're going to have to respect that. I'm going to take Giant Fluff here and then check a front, and then I'm going to guard Bravely Lost with a front myself, so I have 2 points of damage to play with next turn. By not guarding Giant Fluff, I give myself 2 points of damage to have the chance to stay on Accord and go for 5 drive checks with the form up order and Accord's freestand. But when it gets down to it, I do get Cold Feet and Ride Prime, thinking the guaranteed board restand is better. But as a learning point, I definitely should have stuck to my original plan, since now I'm at 4 damage for no reason and no extra firepower to show for it. It is also here I realized that Form Up Chosen Knights looks at grade 3, not grade 3 or higher, so I don't even get the drive check here. And I just get the power boost and to draw a card, which is a little limiting. Here the power is a bit limited, and while I'm adjusting the power on screen, let me just remind you that I am just inspecting the deck. I'm not going to play perfectly all the time. You should though, however. Please use me as a learning resource, learn from my mistakes, and don't make them in your games. We'll swing for 15, that's a 5 to guard, it's really small numbers, they're just going to intercept once, we're going to adjust the power once more, swing for 30 into their Vanguard, a little more, they're going to block with a front, and we're going to swing with our Vanguard, and then all we have to do is check a grade 3, and we're going to restand the whole board. They're going to guard this with 30,000 shield, we're going to check 2 primes and 1 Volition Rigger Dragon, giving a critical and power to our Angel. Then with Bastion Prime skill, we're going to discard a Bastion Prime and we're going to restand the whole board, giving everything plus 10,000 power. This ride did not pay off. 25,000 into the Vanguard, they're going to guard that, 60,000 into the Vanguard, and they are going to just take it because they're not in lethal range anymore. Here it's going to be their turn, they're not even going to Persona Ride, they're just going to call Giant Fluff, and with Giant Fluff's skill, they're going to add the toy order back to their hand, and then they're going to play the toy order, and they're going to add a toy to their hand. I'm not exactly sure what it is, I do not remember anymore. but do know it doesn't really affect the game because all the toys that they need are already in their soul or will go there thanks to resting the order, which they do. They rest 2 orders and they're going to put a bunny and a block horse to their soul. They're going to pay the cost of 3 energy and they're going to call a whole board out. Getting used to this formation yet? You should be. They're going to draw a card off Bravely Lost. They're going to filter a card out the deck with their bunny, and it is not looking good for good old Bastion unless this Union the Sky draw is insane. We're just adjusting some powers here, but it's not going to matter. 23,000 from Giant Fluff, of which we're going to guard that. They're going to swing 28,000. We're going to guard what we can, I think, before the 2 criticals come. We're going to here, we're going to gamble a little bit, and we're going to guard. With Unite the Sky skill, we're going to draw a card, and we're going to intercept with Chival's Art, because Chival's Art can intercept, and we're going to basically gamble on a 2 to pass here, just to maybe leave it through. They're going to check a critical trigger, and they're going to give it all to their Vanguard, and then they're going to check another one, and that's probably going to be the game. They're going to check a third one, just to kick us while we're down, and we're going to check 3 points of damage here, and that's going to be the game. So, what's the good, and what's the bad? First, the good. The new cards are really good. Not needing to counterblast 2 for Alden is a nice quality of life upgrade, and Balancier finds pieces early to work with. 2. Despite being a little older, Bastion's offense is still pretty respectable. On turn 3, with a middling board, we still got a lot done in that game. Okay, now the bad. This deck struggles going second. A lot of your shield value isn't online till later in the game, so in the early game, you're going to even lack 5,000 point shields to block the weaker attacks early on. If you're going to use triggers to guard those, you're going to have less for later game. It's going to spiral out of control. As a result, you can really brick on bad hands with no shield. There are so many other test games I did where I'm not going to show them to the general public because it's basically gore how badly I got beat, where decks like Nana Clear were wiping me because I know outs to their early crits and high power and multi-attacking. It's just not great going second in a game where you have to go second every once in a while. 2. This deck's right line is so bad. It's serviceable, but serviceable isn't good enough anymore. It really needs a new right line to net some reliable advantage rather than calling perfect guards off the top behind your Vanguard. You can join me with my Bruce deck in the waiting room for a new right line as well. And thirdly, while your front row can't be chosen, the big deck in this format doesn't choose when she retires. Overall, despite all of that, I don't think the deck is awful. It's pretty fun, and I also really like Bastion's theming personally and the high aggression playstyle. But even with these buffs, it's really hard to have a reason to sleeve up Bastion for a big event unless you really like him. But don't let that stop you. If you're like me and love bringing rogue strategies to try and clinch games in these big events, you can do a whole lot worse than Bastion. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next YouTube short where I recite my fanfiction where I go on a date with Bastion. Bye bye.